embarrassing. Okay.
Welcome to the breakout session. And I'm very pleased, first of all, to be able to introduce to you Anthony Forth from the University, who's going to share with us the presentation of mobile, Moodle, and the OU. So thanks a lot. Anthony's going to talk for about 20 minutes, and then we'll have 5 minutes.
Hi. About 2 years ago, 2009, the OU started to think about mobile support for our VLE Moodle. And last year, I talked at Moodle Moot about some of the things we were doing and some of the things we were planning. So this presentation revisits some of that, so don't worry if you weren't there or you don't remember. But it's also a little bit of a sequel, and it shows some of the thinking that's gone on in that time. So back in 2010, we had quite a high number of iPhone users who were using our Moodle instance. We had about 6,000. Very little usage of any other mobile device, any other mobile platform. And the OU was starting to recognise the importance of mobile devices. And right at the end of 2009, the OU approved the development of a mobile interface for the VLE to optimize it, allow you to look at it in your mobile browser. And they also approved the building of some mobile apps for Android and for iPhone. So, and last year we talked about our mobile interface for use in web browsers. It looked basically like the old screen dump I've got there on the side. It covered the course pages, it covered resources, it covered forums, news, wiki, blog. It also covered the OU's structured content module, which is basically a way of producing course materials in-house and outputting them to a range of platforms, and which Moodle is one. And we produced a very basic mobile application that could look at content packages that were generated using some code we developed in Moodle. And those content packages could be used offline or online. So, winding forward to 2010-2011, the number of mobile users of the VLE has risen. It's now at about 13,000 every month, 13,000 individual users, not 13,000 page requests. Page requests is a lot higher. The OU's in the process of migrating from 1.9 to Moodle 2. So we want to look again as part of that, because a lot of the work we did to customize and optimize Moodle for mobile in 1.9 was bespoke development. We could never share it with the community. It was horrible to maintain because it had a lot of core customizations in the code. So we wanted to look again at how it was done and what we were doing. So as well as the technical side, we also surveyed 558 of the students that were using the current mobile interface, and that happened towards the end of last year. And for anybody who's interested in it, that was we also had a breakdown of the platforms that people were using. So again, iPhones, Apple were the most popular, 20% on Android, and then about 15% on various other things. A few unknowns that are not on the list. So as I say, 558 students were surveyed to get their responses to the existing mobile interface, and the survey was taken online when they were accessing Moodle. We asked them how often they used Moodle and found that more than 50% used it more than once a week, so they were using it regularly. And that was borne out by the stats that we had that was suggesting that a core chunk of users were using the mobile interface at least 3 or 4 times a week. 25% used it weekly, and then 25% said they used it less frequently, and that was a range of different things from fortnightly, monthly, bi-monthly, even less frequently. We asked when people were using mobile Moodle, and 65% said during dead time, queuing, waiting, 62.5% travelling. A lot of people were also using it, and I do this myself, I was using it for convenience at home rather than getting up and switching on their computer and getting out of their armchair or off their sofa. They were sitting on the sofa using it, and I was studying an OU course at the time, and I did that. I was quite happy to sit on my sofa and use my phone to look at it some of the time. But we were also finding that there was quite a large group of people who were using it for quite small periods to update themselves on what was going on in their course, not protracted periods of study, just quite short periods, although there were a hardcore who did something different. So, what did people use the mobile interface for? 76% looked at course news, 72% reading forums, and of the people, 42% actually participated in forums, so they posted messages to forums. 64% looked at their study planner, and then you had various others that were below 50%. So once you get into more involved learning activities, things like resources, looking at the OU's online course materials, they were just under 50%. Quiz I've missed off there, that was just under 25%. Wikis, blogs, and so on. You started to go down the list. So again, evidence they were updating on what was going on in their course. Perhaps a bit more than using it as a learning material, although again there's still a large group who were using it for learning. So, we asked them, which do you prefer, the standard desktop interface or the mobile interface, and the results of that were quite surprising. We actually had 26% of people who said that they liked the mobile interface better than desktop, and 17% of users surveyed said they liked the desktop better. So that's probably not representative of every Moodle user, but it is interesting to see the people who like using our Moodle instance on their mobile device have quite strong support for it. 32%, and this was really interesting to us, we have a switch link in our interface, so you can go from the mobile interface to the standard interface. 32% had said that they liked switching, that they looked at a task they wanted to perform and they would switch. Some of the things we had in that interface weren't supported, so you had the switch interface quite prominently, and people were happy to do that on the whole. 9% didn't like the mobile interface at all, 25% haven't tried switching. So a real kind of really mixed kind of set of numbers. And I hope you can read this, it's maybe a little bit difficult. We asked people how they rated using our mobile interface, and when we looked at ease of use, if you look at our good and very good figures, 46% said good, 29% said very good, 22.7 okay, and poor and very poor were negligible. Again, for design, similar figures, 26.7% good, okay, 5.4 good, 23.6 very good, and poors and very poors were fairly negligible. Navigation, similar figures. The range of functionality, do they get the things they want? Actually, even slightly better in terms of okays and goods. Performance, again, poors and very poors were negligible in a range of okay, good, and very good. So, again, the mobile users were liking what they were seeing. So, we took the feedback we'd had from our users, and we took the comments that they'd given us, and we had we basically felt that our previous design work wasn't, it was basically pretty successful, but there were things that we could do better. It wasn't, for instance, focused quite so heavily on what users were saying they used, because when we started the first time we did it, we didn't know what users would use. So we looked at focusing the interface a bit more towards making it easy to get to news and forums. we wanted to make the new interface slightly easier to navigate. So we put new tabs in. We used the Moodle 2 themes architecture to put in a new planner screen, and that just shows that will when it goes live just show you the news, the forums, and the current week from your study planner. We wanted to make the design a bit cleaner because the design had evolved when the previous interface was produced, and it didn't look as nice as we wanted it to look. And we put more elements in there, so far more quiz questions, more course material, one or two plugins that were not in the previous release. So we were increasing the range. So the aim, although it's not possible to do everything an OU student might undertake using the mobile interface, it's a lot more complete experience, and there certainly will be courses where everything you could do on the mobile interface now. So, and that's the basic layout of our new interface. We added this, which is our overview screen, to complement the normal study planner that you will know from Moodle, that just shows the latest news, forums, and your study plan activity for the particular week you're on. Only shows forums with new messages, only shows new news pages. And on the right, that's just a sample of how the forums look in our mobile interface with the discussions there, options to see more discussions within the forum, draft posts, and access to individual discussions. A couple more pages from the forum interface where you can see that's a particular discussion with the posts and the replies beneath it, and that's just a form for putting in your reply. And again, you can see along the top of the screen, we've got simple tabs to get to the main areas. So that's to your overview page. That's your planner, your news, your forums, and your resources. One of the things we've also done is we've made some customizations to the OU's instance of Moodle that we've submitted to the Moodle community, which we hope the community will put into one of the upcoming releases of Moodle to complement some of the work they're doing on mobiles. So we've got a device browser type detection function that can tell whether you're using mobile, tablet, default, or legacy. You can also specify, if you're technical, you can also specify your own regular expressions to look at a user agent string and pull out your own types. And if you create your own type, it will appear, we have a new theme selector screen, and the theme selector now gives you the option to pick a theme for any type you have, either any of those default types or any type you've specified yourself. There's also the ability to switch between themes if you're not using the default theme. So those are things that we've put forward to the Moodle community as improvements to Moodle to make support for a mobile interface that you can use in a browser as opposed to an app a bit easier. So, other question. Whatever happened to the OU Moodle app? Well, at the same time as we worked on the mobile interface, we also were looking at apps. And last year I talked quite a bit about the app we had under development. We found some interesting things from, and Ross McKenzie in his presentation touched on this yesterday, we found some interesting things about our students' response to apps and a Moodle app and the way the OU handled apps. First of all, we were surprised that when students were asked whether they preferred apps or a mobile interface, we actually had 4 in 5 saying they liked the mobile interface. We think that may have something to do with the fact that they have ebooks are ready for offline reading. So one of the things we didn't want to do with an app was recreate ebooks. So we stopped trying to do that. The OU is quite big on iTunes U for podcasting ebooks and so on. We found that 15% of this 558 who were keen mobile users, they had chosen to use the OU's mobile interface, weren't using apps. 50% didn't like multiple apps, and a number around 30% had only ever used one or two apps. So there was a resistance to installing a lot of different apps, and we thought there was a slight risk of kind of OU app overload, because we do have one or two specialised courses which have got their own app. We've got some marketing and student admin things that have got their own app. So we didn't really want to get into giving people OU app overload, and we thought it might be quite complex to put those all together into some sort of shell app as we'd originally hoped. We looked at the maintenance overhead, and we use a lot of third-party plugins at the OU. So to support all the activities that we wanted within an app would mean we were looking at developing, even if we had take the Moodle HQ are going down, we would still have quite a maintenance overhead, and we'd still have to integrate a lot and produce new development to extend those apps to do the things potentially that we'd want to do, assuming that it would be possible to do that. And you'd have to do that across at least Apple, BlackBerry, Android, and Windows Mobile, we believe. So the maintenance overhead was quite tricky. There's a low usage base for any platform and for mobile in general in any given course. Although we have 13,000 mobile users, that's still under 10% of the student population, or the usage of the VLE. So to promote the functionality of an app within any given context would be quite hard. If we were only doing it for a particular platform, then it becomes harder. So that, again, was awkward. We were looking at also, into the medium term, whether HTML5 could replace some of the functionality that an app might do. So do we need to write a separate app for some of the simple things that talk to the camera on the phone that might get into some voice recording and so on? Having said all that, there is still some interest in the OU for a news and forum app, and also for uploading photographs and for voice recording at the current time. So it's not completely ruled out, but once you took a whole range of factors into account, it stopped being a main priority for the OU. Yep. 5 minutes, okay. Well, that's good, because I'm finished. So does anybody have any questions? Yeah. Sorry, could you speak up a little bit? We're not supporting an app. We're not producing an app at the moment, but potentially if you're an iPhone user, you'd need the iPhone version of the app. If you're a Windows Mobile user, you'd need the Windows Mobile version. You can obviously make them appear to the user to be very, very similar, but you're still maintaining those as an institution. No, if you were using your iPhone, you need to get it from iTunes. We'd probably put it on the Android marketplace for Android and so on. But some of them would allow you to download them from other places. Hello? No. All the code that we've written is available. It's available on GitHub at the moment, and we've done a pull request to the Moodle community to try and ask the community to consider putting it into core Moodle. A proposal was put to Martin and Petter and various other people in the community around January time, and they were reasonably supportive, so we hope it will go in. Theme selector is part of that, yeah. Yes. Yes, it automatically switches. Sorry, I didn't hear. To do it in 1.9. The OU's approach to doing it in 1.9, and I think with hindsight it might not have been the best way, was to do a lot of customization that, again, did quite frequently ran either browser detection or checking what the browser detection previously returned, and then switching you to an interface based on think with hindsight, something in 1.9 perhaps could have been done that was a little bit less clumsy around theme selection, but it was messy if you wanted to have the same interface with a different, the same Moodle instance with a different interface for mobile and for people. Hi. It interrogates the user agent, and it assigns it a device type based on that. And as mentioned, you can use you can specify. There's a new admin setting where you can specify a regular expression that would override that, so you could do your own detection. Okay. Thank you.